Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation. Our topic is Evidence for a DO processing advantage in Mandarin Chinese. During the next few minutes, I will give you the introduction and background of this project, show you what does current study looks like and the results. Let me start by giving you an introduction about Chinese ditransitive constructions. There are basically two types of Chinese ditransitive constructions. In the first construction type, the recipient role is realized directly after the verb and gei. The same can either be after the recipient or be moved before the verb via the bar marker. In the second construction type, the same follows the verb directly. The recipient can either be realized in sentence final position or before the verb together with the gei marker. In the following, I will give you 4 examples for these constructions. They all have same meanings and differ mainly in the positions of recipients and themes. This is an example for the first construction type. The theme follows the recipient. This is another example for the first construction type, but the theme role is realized before the verb via the bar marker. This is an example for the second construction type. The recipient together with gei is realized in the sentence final position. In the second example for the second construction type, the recipient is before the verb. About these ditransitive constructions, there are 2 different views. Some researchers say that construction 1a and 2a are equivalent to DO-PO constructions in English. In the following, we call this view the equivalent view. In the pair of DO-PO constructions, the verb is the same, and it allows the realization of both recipient and theme. The difference between DO-PO constructions lies mainly in the syntactic pattern, with the position of recipient and theme being exchanged in these 2 constructions, and the preposition appearing before the recipient in the PO construction. So, the equivalent view implies that, just like in English, the verb itself in these 2 Chinese ditransitive constructions is ditransitive, and allows the realization of both theme and recipient. In other words, the verb subcategorizes the theme and recipient. However, others argue that the parallelism is not warranted. We call this view the alternative view. Authors who hold this view think that the 2 Chinese ditransitive constructions are totally different. The alternation between these 2 Chinese ditransitive constructions is different from the alternation between DO-PO constructions. The verbs in these 2 Chinese ditransitive constructions are also different. In DO constructions, verb and gei form a compound verb, and in PO, gei is a full verb. What's more, the alternative view suggests that the non-gei verb itself is not ditransitive. It is mainly gei which introduces the recipient role and opens a slot in the sentence for the recipient. That implies that the non-gei verb doesn't subcategorize the recipient argument. Next, I will give you a brief overview of studies that stands for different views. The primary studies by Cai and Huang use the equivalent view as its theoretical framework. They form the primary effect of conceptual to functional mapping. Their data show that PO constructions were more frequently produced by participants. In another free production task, where participants sat in front of a screen and formed sentences based on words shown to them. In the screen, there were only the personal pronoun and verbs under 2 conditions, with gei or without gei. The results show that, without gei, there were fewer ditransitive constructions. This result supports the alternative view that it is gei that introduces the recipient role. Their data show that deal structures were more frequent. Okay, so much for the background. Let's move on to the current study. We came up with the following hypothesis. The alternative view predicts faster reaction time for the DO constructions, because the compound verb in DO allows comprehenders to generate immediate predictions about the recipient and theme, but the simple verb in PO doesn't. The equivalent view predicts no difference between DO and PO, because in DO as well in PO constructions, the verb region allows predictions about the recipient and theme. We tested this hypothesis using a self-paced reading experiment which employed the moving window technique. 92 native Chinese speakers from various regions in China took part in this experiment. In this experiment, we have 30 sites of critical items and 96 fillers. Each site of critical items appeared in the following two conditions. The ditransitive verbs were largely the same as in the previous studies. These critical constructions marked in red were embedded in larger sentence contexts. The sentence contexts for each item in these two conditions were the same. Neither construction was more likely given the larger sentence context. There were also 42 comprehension questions which appeared randomly to ensure the engagement. Cumulative reaction times were calculated from the three increments marked in red. We can see from the figure that DO structures were processed significantly faster than PO structures. This may be due to two reasons. First, the verb region in DO allows comprehenders to predict both the recipient and theme, which facilitates integration, while the verb region in PO doesn't. Second, the verb region in DO obeys the preference for disyllabic rhythms found in Mandarin, but the verb region in PO doesn't. This is the first self-paced reading study on Chinese ditransitive gei constructions. Our results provide for the first time empirical evidence for the alternative view. Our results are also in line with the finding that DO structures were produced more frequently in our previous reproduction experiment. That's all. Thank you for your listening.